Great. So welcome to the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, our full commission meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. It's at 6:30 here at the Hilltop branch of the Columbus Public Library. So I'm going to turn it over to our secretary to take roll.
Okay, Chair Fagan.
Here.
Vice Chair Reed.
Here.
Treasurer Paxton.
Here.
List. Commissioner Wenning.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stryker.
Here.
Commissioner Window.
Here.
Commissioner Kepler.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Present.
Commissioner Keeble.
Oh, here.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And Commissioner McDowell.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Maddox.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
And Commissioner Court. Okay, all are present.
Thank you. So the agenda, it was sent out electronically, sent it to everybody's email. We also sent it through constant contact. Are there any additions, deletions, any questions about the agenda for tonight? I did send out a preliminary agenda, and then I sent out another correspondence saying that Andrew from CODA was going to be here tonight. We're able to confirm his presentation. So that'll be up about 7 o'clock on the agenda. So that'll be an addition if you hadn't seen the second agenda. Any other additions, deletions? Okay, hearing none, then I'll just go ahead and approve the agenda for tonight. Oh, there was.
I told you, but I don't think there's gonna be a zoning application. Yeah, he's not here.
Oh, so there will not be a zoning application this evening. Okay, so that was on the agenda to review. We won't be hearing that presentation tonight. Okay, thank you. 8 o'clock. So let's move on to approving the minutes from the last meeting. Victoria took the minutes of the last meeting, distributed those to everybody. Any comments, suggestions, edits to the minutes? Hearing none, I'm going to look for a motion to approve those.
For all motion. Second,
Cool. So Joe's motioning to approve them. Got a
because
second.
they were great, very comprehensive. Thank you.
All in favor of that, approving the minutes?
Aye.
Anybody not approve them? Want to approve them? Okay, great. We are moving on to city staff reports. I don't see Sergeant Brophy here this evening. He really works really hard to try to get here, so maybe he'll show up a little bit later. But Zach Wynn, our zone attorney, he may be able to show up a little bit later also. To my knowledge, I haven't heard from either one of them if they're going to be able to be here tonight. So Avery is here though. Avery Townsend is next on the agenda. She's with the Division of Community Engagement with the City of Columbus, legislative analyst.
What we're doing.
You have choices. You can turn that microphone on and right there. Just pull that down. It should be working.
Already, or,
You may just need to flip it on.
okay, is that on?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually do have an update from Zach.
That's great.
He says that he does not have any city attorney announcements, but, and I'm gonna read this verbatim. The Franklinton Area Commission would like to issue its formal challenge to the GHAC to a battle of neighborhood crime. The contest, softball, the stakes, everything, all caps. The rules, there are no rules.
Oh.
There are rules. Our rules. And speaking of that, date TBD, presumed Leah Bruno will chair the GHAC team. Spoken like a true chair of the GHAC team.
That was part of the challenge, Leah, was to ask you to be chair.
Apparently.
Okay.
Exactly. All right.
You do a great
Wonderful.
job. You do a great
So
job.
those were like really fun announcements and I won't be able to top them. But for us, we're holding 2 capital improvements budget hearings. Actually just came from the one at Scioto Southfield. That's today. There's another one tomorrow at Howard Community Center. But there will also be a community conversation on June 13th. It's virtual. You can log in. You don't have to sign up to speak for any of these. You can sign up on site. So if something comes up when they're presenting that you think, actually, I would like to comment on that, you can totally do that. If you need the WebEx link, we're putting it on our website. our Facebook, our Instagram, but if you want it, I'll send it to you. I don't have it yet, but I'll make sure it gets to you. So that's what I have for right now. Does anyone have any questions tonight? I can't believe it's softball time again. It feels like we just had softball time. So, all right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Avery. I guess I do have a quick question. Is it still gonna be possible to get a list of all the capital improvements that were submitted by?
Yes, I
Okay, so you're
will
still
owe that
working
to
on
you. I owe that to you.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to.
When is your next planning and development meeting?
June 22nd.
Okay, great.
Yeah, June 22nd.
Okay, I will definitely have it to you by then, but I would also attend your next planning meeting if you want to talk about it. I don't know if you have anything on your agenda already for it.
We may, but
All right,
we will make sure there's space.
sounds good. Yes.
Great. Thank you for letting me take that question.
Thank you. This may be common knowledge, so pardon my ignorance here. Is there a cutoff date for improvement requests from community members or for anyone who's listening who, since hearings are happening, will the city still continue to collect submissions and consider submissions for this fiscal year and until when?
So there's a couple different answers to that question. So our public survey will remain open until the end of until it's passed the 2023 capital budget. But of course, the nature of those requests, they don't have a like a cutoff date. They're still pertinent. And when we come out with the 2023 capital budget, we'll also adopt as a resolution a 2023-2028 capital improvements plan. And then each department has their own capital planning teams that are working on that year round. So really, capital budget season is all year, all the time. So if you do have a resident with a question, they can direct that to, you can direct it to council, you can direct it to the departments. I'd be happy to advise on the best people for that. So really, anytime, there's no like, no, we're not taking that right now.
If something doesn't get in before June 30th, for example,
Yes.
it could still be submitted and considered. For
Oh,
a future
absolutely.
year.
Every department, I believe, works on kind of like a different, like, they'll already be working on their, you know, through the capital improvements plan on their budget for next year. It's just like a never ending kind of cycle, like I said. So the requests themselves don't time out, if that makes sense. That was the word I was looking for.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. That's a great question. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Avery. So Olabisi Eddie, or from the Department of Neighborhoods, our liaison is here, just came in. So are you ready? Do you have any updates for us tonight? Any reports? Okay.
Everyone here. Turn on the switch, push up. Everyone here.
Pause this for a second and then it comes on.
And everyone, oh, there we go.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Just a few announcements. The trauma responsive civic leadership training, this is just for area commissioners, will be on June 14th at 6 p.m. It's going to be led by our own Delina P. Scales, neighborhood liaison with Department of Neighborhoods. You should have received an email. Apologies. I know there was a faulty link for the first time the email went out. Please register using the second link. That should work just fine. We have another training that'll be on the 28th of this month. That's for the New American Initiative, My Brother's Keeper, and Condition on Black Girls. That's also going to be at 6 p.m. via WebEx. It's going to be led by our Department of Neighborhood staff. The email to register for that will be sent out in a few weeks, but just keep an eye on your inboxes. The deadline for the 2023-2024 MOA is June 30th. I see you guys have that on your agenda to talk about, but just wanted to keep that in mind that, we need that along with all of the supported documents by the end of this month. Let me see. So COSI is looking for 10 partner sites in the Franklin, or in a number of different neighborhoods, including Franklinton and the Hilltop, for their NASA space kit distribution. So each selected site will receive up to 100 kits. And there will be 5 or 6 sessions. So they'll need somebody to lead the kids. It's about a 30-minute activity and like building a rocket. And then they'll come in on the final session and have like a live show. That's about an hour. And they'll finish building the rockets with the kids together. So they're just looking for sites that would be interested in integrating that into their children's programming. And the timeline that they're looking for is between mid-July and mid-August. So if anyone has a contact that would potentially be interested, please let me know. The North Wheatland Avenue Improvement Project, they're having an open house, and that's going to be set for June 20th at 4:30 p.m. at the Holton Community Center. This is just, they plan to do some infrastructure changes. I think they're going to make it a two-way street and do some other improvements as well. The comment period for this project is open now, and it'll be open through July 20th. There is a flyer that was just released today. Unfortunately, my printer's down, so I wasn't able to print that out for you, but I will send that out with my next website bulletin. Let me see. If there's anything else? Oh, Envision Hilltop, their next meeting, I think, is set for June 13th. And of course, I forgot to write down the time. 5:30 p.m. Thank you. And it will be here at the Hilltop Library. And yeah, that's all I have for you. Any questions for me?
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
No,
You have a question?
no, go ahead.
So, regarding the cosign, rocket project, that's what I'm talking about. They're looking for sites, so you're talking about, sites that already have children's programming,
Yes.
that they can just incorporate into that.
Yes.
Has there been, since the city, talk to the rec centers with the summer camp programming?
Yep, that's the plan. So
Okay.
they reached out to us, really today,
Okay,
to start recruiting, and just to have, contacts, that they could get in touch with to try and set that up.
yeah,
But, you know, there's always something going on below the radar that maybe I'm not aware of, other than like, you know, the usual sites that we would look to. So just want to put it out there for anyone else that's interested.
yeah, so I just want to make sure that they were connecting Salt City, so I assume they're connected, because Westgate has a huge summer camp program, and so do the other ones, most of the other ones on the hilltop. Okay. Yeah.
I was telling them to stay until we do, like officer reports or whatever, and we'll talk about demolition permits, during that time. You better stick around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You wanna come on? Get a call. You're welcome.
Oh,
How you guys doing? I'm station captain, station 17. Been there about 4 years. We did a couple ones at the old church, but since COVID, we didn't really come back, so we'll be back here once every month.
Oh, good.
I heard her bring up the streets on North Wheatland going back and forth. Everything's good with us, but we get a lot of Narcan out. We're busy, we're one of the busiest stations in the city, so. But since you brought up streets, I don't know if you noticed the influx of cars on both sides of the streets when you get out, Clarendon, Highland, all the rest of it. Some of the narrow ones, Terrace, Richardson, Eureka, Wayne, over there. They're really tight and they're working up on the. I'm born and raised on the hilltop and west side, so it's a shame to see what it's looking like. And I this might be just me doing the proposal, but I don't know if there's any thought process in parking on the super tight streets, parking on one side. I think, and especially if we're only making two-way streets. Right now, our fire truck, we gotta get out some streets, we gotta come back all the way up because we can't get through them. We flip mirrors a lot. Get out closed mirrors. I don't know, this is the meeting to talk about it, so, certain streets, I'm not saying all of them, Highland's a wide street, Wheatland's good. You know what I mean, you can park on both sides, but some of the streets, bring a fire truck down there and that's what you got on both sides. You know what I mean, and you got cardiac arrest, people trapped. We're gonna go 35 miles down there, you know what I mean, we're gonna go 30 miles, and we're gonna get down there as quick as possibly can. Every once in a while we catch somebody's mirror, you know what I mean? Then if it comes back on my guys, how unsafe he was, this, that, and the other. Well, I'm not worried about a mirror, but my grandma's down there getting cardiac arrest. So, but I think it's something we should look at. If you just look, it's just a beautification of your neighborhood even. Just look at how bad, because they're parking all the way, between this curb and the sidewalk, they'll have a little patch of grass, there's no grass anymore. It's just a rutted up deal, and I think you can alleviate that, because everyone can park out back. It's just easier to park out front and walk 20 feet to your front door instead of walking 120 feet from the back. If you don't have a parking spot, park in the back. I just think it's something really, Woodbury did a lot of that. They park on one side. So, and that's good enough, Woodbury, it's good enough for us. Thanks, that's me, yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, or is the issue just if it goes to two-way streets or if it stays a one-way street? It's both sides.
Both. I
So
think
even
if
if they
it
stay
stays one way, the real tight ones, yes, I think,
Okay.
and it's not just in your hilltop area, it's also here. When you go to Whitehead and go to Eureka and all that, it makes a turn. You know, what I mean, about 700 numbers, 700 to 900 numbers, when, because Whitehead runs like that. That bend right there, the street gets tighter for some reason right there. You park on both sides, everything's scratched, and the engines are barely fitting through. And they're not building fire trucks any smaller. You know, what I mean, if anything, they're making them bigger and bigger and bigger, which I get it, we need more water, we need this, that, and the other, but I think we can save the city a lot of money. One, for just the damage that's occurred, and if you don't know how the city works, if you're a city resident, we hit your car, your insurance pays you have to pay your deductible and get your car fixed. City will give you $500 to pay your deductible. You know what I mean? So that makes us feel bad enough. You know what I mean? We hit your mirror, which is our fault. Yeah, can you stop? Can you do this? Absolutely. Absolutely, we could. But that also means as, you know, you hold your breath another minute and a half to us get down the road. You know what I mean? So times a matter, cardiac arrest, times a matter on certain routes. Yeah, fire alarm, this, that, and the other. Yes, we're not gonna push the limits there. But if you got, you know, pediatric arrest, person choking, those are the ones we're gonna push the envelope a little bit, and I think, you know, as tight as the streets are and the way kids are darting in between the cars, it just gives us a little bit more opportunity to see what we're seeing, and also a little bit more room to move. And there's no moving. Yeah, you come up and then they're both like this, and if you're 12 inches out, the city will fine you and this, that, and the other. Now the police officers are getting tickets for people parking up on the curbs. Well, they don't want their window, they don't want their car hit. I understand that too. And I think if we take that option away from some of them and say, you got to park out back, here's your parking spots. You don't get your parking spot early, you just got to park behind your house. You go up the alley and park, and there's parking behind everybody's house, on certain streets. I'm not saying all of them. Or maybe just try a trial street and see how many accidents happen and parked cars get hit. But it's, definitely, I think, a safety issue. We're pretty densely populated right now. You know, some vacants are gone. We're losing vacants, so we don't have vacants like we used to. It's a good thing. They're fixing up the houses again on the hilltop. But I don't know, that's, as a safety wise, that's my responsibility to tell you what's going on. And, we got a fire truck that's 2.5 years old and probably been 10, 11 accidents already. You know, but got any questions? Yeah.
Well,
Could you guys make like a map, just highlighting like the worst streets that we could focus on first, and then going back in and highlighting some secondary streets that we could try to hit with like a different approach? I just, again, as someone who's had to use the squad, I think it's pretty serious when you're bringing up the issue that this could delay service time of people in the hilltop just because you guys don't have adequate access to get to somebody in need. So I feel like if you guys could address the streets that are the worst, we could tackle those first and then try to implement something later on to address the other streets that aren't as bad.
You know, because we lose it. We got Highland and Wheatlands are cut through streets, you know what I mean? Highland and Wheatland, but they're wider streets. That's the reason why they're cut through streets, you know what I mean? And then Terrace north of Broad is an alley kind of. So we got kind of good cut through street there. But then you get down Oakley, Wheatland, Richardson, it gets tight. So, I mean, they're all about, there's probably about 8 of them, probably about considerably the same. And to be honest with you, it's real kind of easy to see. You could probably get on, was when we have an accident, we have to go in front of the city accident review board. If you get the accident at the city accident review board, it'll list where the accidents were. 700 Wheatland, that's going to be a big one because Wheatland goes down before it gets to Mount Street, it sucks down. And right there, it seems like the car's always kicked out. 2 o'clock in the morning, going through and I'm not blaming, like, it's our fault too. I mean, we come to a complete stop, but like I said, I always tell them, we got a pediatric arrest and we kill a mirror. I'm never gonna say nothing to you. I'm not. Now, if we're going on a fire alarm, come on, idiot, we can stop, get out, pull mirrors and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'll be completely honest with you, but there's certain runs that we need to get there and get there in a hurry. And I think, and it looks like crap. It's just horrible. See the streets. They're parking their fronts. It's neat in some of them. But I just think if we could do something about, they're gonna make them one way, which is fine. But we're gonna have to get rid of cars on one side if you're gonna make it one way. Because you're gonna have cars backed up and we're not gonna be able to get through. We're gonna have to back up, they're going to back up or something. You know what I mean? It's gonna be, I just don't think it's a feasible thing.
Can I ask you a quick question related to the infrastructure? Which is, so parking is an issue because of how cars will be on tight streets. But is there anything else in the surrounding infrastructure? I'm thinking curbs, crosswalks, lights, potholes,
No.
other type of major like infrastructure things.
Thanks for solving the medians on Sullivan. We had a guy hit one of them and kid is like, you know what I mean? And I get it, there's flow restrictions, and there's engineers way smarter than I am, you know what I mean? But they had these rubber things and then they ran them over. Now we're those cars are ramping them a little bit. I don't know. I think we have to keep an eye on that, on Sullivan Avenue. Just, I get it. They want to slow people down. But, I don't know if it's creating more havoc than not, you know what I mean?
For the truck and for your response specifically?
No, the trucks, we just make a move. We just wait.
You've seen that.
I'm just talking about us wise, no. I think the only really significant infrastructure deal is the tight streets that I think we can alleviate some of them. And I get it, some of them we can have it, but let us have more than one cut through street. I mean, every third street gives a cut through street. And then we go up Wayne Steel or Palmetto or something like that. You know, we know our brake numbers, 450 numbers, 470 numbers. We can hit steel and then come up this way. We only have to go up 50 numbers real tight instead of coming up 450 numbers, you know what I mean? It's just something like that. Plus, it might beautify some of the streets and let the grass grow a little bit. People can park, you know what I mean? Street cleaner get through there and clean it up a little bit. So, I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I have a question. So you said data is important, right? So you said the city review board holds the
Accident
data.
review board.
Accident review board?
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other place we can get data regarding?
That would be your number one data to find
Okay.
accidents on the,
Alright.
every time you have an accident, it has to go to accident review board.
Accident.
You got like 3 police, fire, and then 3 independent city people or something, it's like a committee,
Yeah,
and they all could have been prevented. Well, 95% of our accidents there could have been prevented. We could have completely stopped and backed all the way up to where we went around it. So we're at fault every time. We could have stopped and backed up. But then again, it's coming, you know what I mean, we're trying to get, you know what I mean, there's the margin errors that's, you know what I mean, and that's every street. If we can reduce that by 30% and give every third street or something, it just gives us a little bit more cut through streets instead of cutting down. We know we gotta cut down one of them. Well, they go 3 down, we'll cut up and then come back. I think we can reduce some of the damages to vehicles and, clean up some of the streets.
the purpose of my question is to ensure there's no more work put on you guys, that we can go and look at the data and then have some options maybe on what could be done. Because there may be more out there, more opportunity for improvement out there. Not only what you're suggesting, but other types of, so that was my reason for asking about the data. That's it.
Say again.
So what I'm saying is, my reason for asking about where to get the data is so that we can have a full picture of what's kind of going on,
Okay.
along with what you're saying, some improvements could be made and, how we can advocate, for you
I
guys.
think Columbus police reports too for just regular accidents. People clipping cars. I mean, you can get your top 3, you know what I mean? And then maybe do just 3 streets and see if it even matters.
Yeah.
If it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Just go back and park on both sides and do whatever, you know what I mean? But give it a trial or something. Everything's about a trial. Maybe we can do 3 streets and pick the top 3 that we hit stuff and the residents hit stuff. You know what I mean? And say, we're gonna take these 3 out of play.
Yeah.
And put parking on one side and see how we do it right here. And then, you know, you figure out who's handicapped, who's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But,
Yeah, I get you.
yeah. that's
Okay.
good.
All right.
Good.
No, Catherine, I appreciate it. This meeting is our full meeting every month. And then if you've never been to this meeting, we have committees. We're gonna do committee reports later on. The work that we actually do and get accomplished actually happens in those committees. So we have a public safety committee. I think this is certainly work that the public safety committee can pick up. We'll talk about that at the committee meeting. You'll hear an announcement later on if you're able to stay about when our next meeting is, but is this something that we could put on the agenda for the public safety? Just to pull that report and see if there's opportunities to help move some of this forward.
Not a bad, that's it.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
See you next month. Okay. Thanks, guys, for coming. Is Nick Plow here? From City of Columbus. He is invited every month to do an update on the Envision Hilltop plan and what's happening with that. So I don't see Nick here tonight. Avery gave a little bit of an I don't know if we had anybody. No updates from Nick tonight. So what's next on the agenda?
So I want to repeat myself from my incomplete report. He did ask me to remind everyone, Envision Hilltop Advisory Board meeting Tuesday, June 13th, 5:30, here at the Hilltop Library, just in case the audience, especially online, didn't get those details the first time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. All right, so we're to the point of announcements on the agenda. So we're opening up the floor for any commissioners that have any announcements. And then anybody that's here visiting the meeting tonight, we'll go there for anybody that else would like to make an announcement. So.
So I have an announcement.
Caleb,
A Step in the Right Direction is hosting their 3rd annual West Side Community Summer Bash this Sunday. So make sure everybody comes out. There will be face painting, a couple arts and crafts activities, a live DJ, food. We have about 25 other nonprofit organizations that will be there offering their services, including the Child Support Agency and the Franklin County Auditor's website. So feel free to share. It's at Westgate Park from 12 to 4. We're probably usually busy that first like 30 minutes to an hour. So feel free to bring out blankets, chairs, anything like that, and come bring a little community with us. We're excited. So we're expecting a little over about 500 people this weekend to come out. So.
It might be real quick. Hilltop Arts Collective, the Summer Jam West Festival is going to be an awesome one this year, July 8th from 11 to 7 p.m. at Westgate Park. There's going to be lots of things for the children, even senior citizens. There's going to be from 11 to 1 a elder open mic. So we're going to have senior citizens from the Hilltop come out and tell their stories, and we're going to record it. It's going to be here at the library, and it will be at the Historical Society as well for future generations to hear about stories about the Hilltop. So that's 11 to 1 during the festival. So come out for the festival. It's free. There's lots of creatives there with booths and food trucks and all these things. We expect about 10,000. We've had 10,000 during the whole festival. So come on out and have fun. We're bringing kids, families, grandkids, all those.
3 short announcements. Most pressing, there is an air quality warning through tonight for all of Central Ohio and I think most of Ohio due to fires that are happening up in Canada. The smoke is drifting down. Folks are being advised to limit time outdoors, and that's not just if you have breathing issues. That's for everyone. City pools open this Saturday. Entry is just your leisure card, which you can get for free at any community center at $1. And then this is year round, but especially important in summer. The library has their Culture Pass program. All the information is on their website. You can get free passes to a lot of the great institutions around Columbus, including Clippers games, Franklin Park Observatory, the zoo. Most of those are available right here at our library, so spread the word.
Thank you. Any other announcements or questions? Anybody here in attendance that would like to make an announcement? Ashley. Wait a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, great. Thanks for the microphone. I have a cold. If you do not hear my heckling. I have just a couple of announcements that I wanted to share. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley Montana. I'm the community engagement director at FDA. I'm also the top resident. The first announcement that I want to share is we have been working on a mural for hilltopusa.org. We have a location decided. The city contract is almost finalized, but I'm asking for volunteers. So if you want to paint with us on Sullivan Avenue, I have a sign up list. I'm just going to go put it over there. So if you want to paint with us, you can also email me or call me if you're interested. We're going to be working with the Envision Hilltop Advisory Group to paint this mural. Anyone from the community is open to participate. It'll be kind of like a paint by numbers, so it should be pretty easy to do if you do not have artistic skills. And then another Envision Hilltop update. I'm also the chair of the home subcommittee. And our next meeting is June 30th. It's a Friday. It will be at 1 p.m. over Zoom. We will have a presentation from the Zone in Columbus team to talk about the work that they're doing with updating the zoning code. And then we also have our July meeting scheduled for Friday, July 21st. That meeting is at 10 a.m. and it is in person. We will be doing a canvas in the neighborhood that we're going to meet at Kennedy Youth Books. So that is at Broad and Oakley. I believe that's across the street. 10 a.m. I'll have all the materials. I would just ask that you please wear closed-toed shoes and wear sunscreen. That's it.
Thank you, Ashley. Any other announcements? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to our presentation for this evening. We're just a couple minutes behind schedule, but Andrew Nutzling from the Central Ohio Transit Authority is here to talk about the short range transit plan. He's a senior service planner with CODA. I think there's a power line. Is that working? Keep going.
Is that working? Okay. Thank you. First, thanks for inviting me to this. Okay, I'll start again. Josh is going to be helping me with the slides here. Again, my name is Andrew Nutzling. I'm a senior service planner at CODA, and we're going to be sharing about the short range transit plan today. Just want to thank you for inviting me out. We love speaking to area commissions because you're always the most engaged people in the community, so it's great to be here. You can go ahead and go to the next slide.
You'd probably be better off using the other mic. That one, because
Yeah.
underneath the speaker, it gives a lot of feedback.
Right here.
You can move the mic over there if you want, it doesn't matter. It's just, it's because it's getting feedback from that speaker there.
All right, how's that?
Take 2 seconds. Let's give it 2 seconds.
How's that? There you go. Okay, so we can send out this link instead of a QR code, but we have an online survey for our plan, and however, I would actually it's probably easier just to go to codasrtp.com. That's the project website, and there's a lot of information on there and also ways to comment. We can skip the agenda part. Okay, so first we're going to go over just what the plan is and the process for it. So this plan, the project timeline, we began this in September of last year, and we're actually going to be finishing it up this month, hopefully. It is basically what it is. It's a tool for planning and development at CODA to assess what we're going to be doing over the next 5 years. We use a lot of different inputs to go into this plan. So first thing we look at is the initiatives, challenges, and opportunities that are happening right now. So we do stakeholder and public feedback. We look at what our funding sources are like and what's happened since COVID-19. And then we look at some of our existing plans and guiding documents. We also do some database things. So we're looking at service and operations and potential improvements to the network. So we're looking at our performance data, We're looking at market analysis and transit needs. And then we're using that to kind of build scenarios for how to better serve the community. And then the last point here is the reason for this plan. So it's a guiding document, but it's also an important part of federal funding processes. So our short range transit plan aligns with ODOT and MORPC to go into the region. It's called the Transportation Improvement Program. And basically all of the transportation projects in the region that can get federal funding will appear in this document. So a little wonky, but that's the source of the plan. So just again, our analysis approach here, we're looking at basically what does the market say, what does our numbers or data say, and then also what do the people of the community say. And then just some special considerations for this one. So our last plan was updated in 2020, I think before the pandemic, or actually just at the beginning of it. Currently, what we're dealing with is still some of the impacts of COVID-19. So we've lost about 48% of our ridership since 2019. And then we're also continue to be experiencing a severe shortage of bus operators. So back in 2019, we had about 592, forgive me. Actually, we had about 700 in 2019, but as of 2022, we had about 592, which is about 100 shorter than we needed. And then also, because of that operator shortage, we're running less service than we used to run. We do have a goal of restoring service, but right now we're working really hard on hiring operators. So with the data, one of the important things we need to look at is like equity. So we have what we call a transit need index. And basically what this does is it looks at zero-car households, persons with disabilities, low-income populations, youth, and seniors, and then puts those all together and tries to weight where there's areas with the most need. So we circle here, the redder colors are what the index identified as having more need. Hilltop is one of the neighborhoods in the city that was identified as having high transit need. And then we were also looking at transit potential. So this is actually more of a market-based one. It's very simply just looking at where people live and where people work. And those two things together, it highlights where there's the most market for transit. So basically the downtown area, central neighborhoods, and then we also identified Easton as one of those areas. We also first looked at our customer feedback. So we have a database of over 22,000 comments. And we looked through those, especially for route specific information. And then we also did just a line by line service analysis for this iteration of the plan. We don't always do this, but we figured that since a global pandemic has happened since our last update of the plan, we thought it was good to just check and see how our lines were performing with the current market. So this was we worked with consultants and internal processes to just analyze our lines, and a lot of what we came from that is what we're going to be sharing with the public with this plan. So, and then I also want to mention some of our just some background considerations for the plan. So in 2017, we did a complete redesign of our network. So that's another reason to be assessing how our lines are performing. We also, of course, have a lot of stakeholder input. So in particular, our local governments have important feedback for us. And we also want to be looking at how the region is growing. So particularly Licking County and the Rickenbacker area are areas where we haven't really provided as much service before, but have a lot of job growth. So the key themes of our recommendations, first is that dense development is occurring around our existing transit network. Broad Street is still Broad Street, High Street is still High Street. Our existing network is still important how it is. However, there is a lot of growth that's continuing on the edge of the region, and we need to find ways to serve that growth as well. Some of that will be changes to the fixed route network, but we may do things like Coda Plus, which I can explain about Coda Plus for you guys too, but we can go to the next slide for now. So the other key takeaway, of course, because this has to do with funding, the plan is also talking about capital enhancements for the next 5 years. So we're working towards having, wait for a minute. We're working towards having battery electric buses, so we're electrifying the fleet, so that's identified in the plan. We're working towards buying more Coda Plus vehicles and then also more mainstream paratransit vehicles. We're also looking at the infrastructure for electrification. We're looking at new parking rides, mobility hubs, and then also we're looking at building a new transit center in the Rickenbacker area. So for the next 5 years, we are projecting or we're budgeting for flat levels of service hours. However, the caveat here is we're still trying to restore the number of operators we have so we can actually operate those hours. We're also looking at expanding Coda Plus zones, including to Hilltop, which we'll talk about. And then we're also looking at the Linkus initiative, which is a regional initiative with MORPC and other partners to bring rapid transit and additional transit resources to the region. Okay, so we can skip through here, but we're gonna just go quickly through some recommendations. This is a presentation that's actually for the whole region, but I'll try to make it more Hilltop specific. So, oh, you want to go straight to this one? That sounds great. Well, I'll just highlight one on this slide. This is for the Northeast West section, but one proposal we're making is a new crosstown line that would connect Brewery District, Franklinton, Grandview, and OSU, and then continue to Easton. That would be the line 31, and you can see more details on our project page if you'd like. I think we can skip the Northeast quadrant, but if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer any of them. Southwest quadrant, this is the important one. So first I'll note the shading on the map. Those are proposed Coda Plus zones, including a Hilltop zone. Are people familiar with Coda Plus?
Yeah.
Some folks.
Yeah.
We have the engaged group here,
Yes.
but yes, we are proposing a Coda Plus zone for Hilltop. I should note that all of these tweaks and proposals are just proposals at this point. The final, before we would do anything, we would have a community process with a regular service change and we would come to the community again. But these things are in the plan now.
Andrew, for those who don't know, what is a plus?
Okay, I should explain. Yeah, so the Coda Plus is an on-demand service that's a shared ride. So what we do is we have zones in different communities and you can either use our Coda Plus app or call our customer service to book a point-to-point trip within the zone. It's designed to help people get the transit. So maybe you don't live walking distance to the bus stop, but you can use that to get there. Because transfers are free in the Coda system, if you are going to a bus stop, your bus fare is the only thing you pay. You don't have to pay for the Coda Plus ride. But if you want to use it, say from your house to the grocery store, then you do have to pay the fare because that's not considered a transfer. So hopefully that was a good overview. Okay, so with the fixed route lines in general, they're going to stay mostly the same along the core network, but most of the changes are out towards the ends of them. So the 10, which is the Broad Straight line, is pretty much unchanged. The Sullivan Avenue line has a bit of a tweak. So right now it's known as the 6, but we're proposing combining it with the 7. So the 6 right now goes from the casino area via Sullivan Avenue to downtown and ends in downtown. And then the 7 goes from downtown out to the airport or Easton. And we're talking about combining those lines so there's a shared seat ride from the west side to the Columbus Airport. So it'd be just one bus line and we would call it 7. The 9, the only thing we're proposing for the 9, which is the Mount Street line, you can see it on the map. Right now it goes a little bit farther out, but we were finding very low ridership farther out on the line. So we were thinking that Coda Plus might serve that area outside of 270 a little better. And I think the only change I want to highlight on here is just where the number 6 would go. So this is the southeast quadrant, but the 6 on Sullivan would go to the south side, or just the number will be remembered, and that's it. And then this is a slide explaining what Coda Plus is. I think we can probably skip that. Do you want to know our rush hour only lines? They weren't on that map. So rush hour only services are geared towards downtown commuters that work the 8 or 9 to 5 schedule. Those lines we're reconsidering them right now because I think that schedule, especially for office workers, is not as strong of a demand as it used to be. So we haven't taken an in-depth look at these lines yet, but we may change how we do those in the future. And then finally, of course, the link S corridors. So as you may know, West Broad Street is identified as one of the first link S corridors in development. We're working on a bus rapid transit line on West Broad Street. This project is going to continue building, and I should mention, we are planning to go to the ballot in 2024 for both these link S corridors, but then also expanding quota service in general. And then in closing, so this presentation, we did most of our public outreach back in April, including at Hilltop, and I recognize some of you from that. But we are wrapping up public input and taking feedback, and we're planning to finalize the plan this month. But I should know that, like, I want to know that this is never really done. We update this plan every 3 years, and then everything in the plan, if we're going to implement it, we bring it back to the public and we take feedback before we implement it. So even if something doesn't make it in the plan today, we will continue to listen and take feedback. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them now first time or we can.
I know Cover My Meds has made an investment to do some workforce development in this area. Have you done any partnerships with them or anyone else to specifically recruit CDL drivers from our community, or to create kind of an invitation to our community for folks looking for living wage jobs to see CODA as a potential?
I think that's a really great idea. We did do a job fair recently that had really good attendance, and we're hopeful that we may be able to expand service based on that.
Yeah.
But I love that idea of targeting certain communities for CDL jobs. So I can take that to our HR team.
Mhm.
So I ride bus, and have for like a million years. I work out at OSU, but currently only take the bus like once a week out to OSU. So I was a little disappointed to hear that the OSU initiative or the route thing stops at Franklinton. Is that, it doesn't go to Hilltop?
So I think I'd have to look at the map to remember exactly the routing, but so it's basically the 31, if you're familiar with that. Right now it goes from Easton to OSU and then through Grandview and ends at Grandview Yard. And what we're proposing doing is just instead of ending at Grandview Yard, it goes down Grandview Avenue, crosses the river there, and then I think it takes Central through Hilltop. And you could connect to it using the 10s, 6 or the 9, if that's convenient for you, but we basically wanted to make a direct connection from the west side to both OSU, but then also to the Brewery District Kroger. We wanted to connect people down to that too, so they could access food easier.
I personally, and I know that there are actually quite a few Ohio State employees and students live in Hilltop. It takes an hour to get from the Hilltop to Ohio State. And that's, 2 buses, of course, because I take the 10 to the number 1 to Main Avenue. I have a daydream that somewhere along the line, CODA will shorten that trip, because hour each way to commute is such a long time. And it's not even that far by car. So you could go back and tell them that.
I can share that.
J girl's tired.
So I will also add, this is our plan based on our current resources. So we're not necessarily adding a lot of surface, we're kind of shuffling it around. But if we did have more resources, we could add more.
I also wanted to ask, so I saw the news bit about the, there have been a few instances, and this doesn't necessarily have to do with this particular thing, but of instances of drivers being assaulted by riders. Are there any safety initiatives from the operators?
So I can speak to the one I'm most aware of is we've added operator barriers to all of the buses. So you've probably seen them on the bus. That was something we did mostly due to COVID, to create like that plexiglass barrier. But that's actually one of the most common ways to help prevent assaults too, just having that barrier between the passengers.
They don't seem that sturdy, like
No.
somebody can punch it, like they're pretty wobbly. They're not. And actually, further, for the operators, they actually try to do something, Joe.
So we do have another initiative we've worked on, which actually some of you may be interested in, is we have an initiative called Safe and Secure CODA. Where we have, I think, a small team of basically mental health and addiction interventionists that are on call to go out to buses and help with different issues that people might be having and help connect people to resources. So we've been doing that, and actually, if anyone would like to be invited to that committee, we have a lot of neighborhood members that are part of that, if you're interested. And then the other one, we work really closely with our union to get tips for things too. And one of the things we did, I think 2 years ago, was basically they requested a policy where at the end of the line, the bus goes out of service and everyone has to exit the bus, which is a policy that they requested because they think it would make it safer. So we do things like that too. So when someone has an idea, we'll take it. So, and that applies to you too. So if you have ideas, we may be able to do something.
Thank you.
This is very much in the weeds. You may not have the data right now, but bus 9, the Mount Street bus, the Sullivan bus, you know, they run about once an hour. Is that going to still stay at that rate? What's ridership look like on 9 specifically, Sullivan? Does it stay the same? Is it increase, decrease? And can it be? I'm throwing a lot of questions at you. And I think to wait for the next bus on Mound or Sullivan an hour is a long time. So interested to hear more
I
about
think the
Sullivan's a half an hour.
Yeah,
Mound.
30 minutes. So I'll tell you, the Sullivan bus, that was one of our strongest, it remained one of the strongest lines throughout the pandemic. And then also prior to the pandemic, we were considering increasing frequency on it. We are still dealing with our operator hiring crisis, so we will increase things as we can. There's a lot of lines that used to be, that still have very significant cuts on them. So we have a long list to get through. But that is one of the lines that's been identified for increased frequency, and actually so is the 9. So among the hourly lines, the 9 was performing better than its peers. So we're looking at making that a half-hour line. So the short answer is yes, but it's as resources are available.
As resources available, 9 will go to every 30 minutes potentially.
Possibly.
Okay, good, especially because you're saying 9, you're going to take from the casino and take it to Easton.
And that's
Potentially
what
by-
it does now. So.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Right now is,
I have a question, excuse me. You said something about levies?
Yes, so this is public knowledge, so I can say it now, but in 2024 November, they're proposing putting a code of ballot initiative,
Just one?
this one,
Okay,
and they would replace what we have now and make it just one funding source.
all right, good. Thank you.
This may not be part of this necessarily, but it's kind of part of Linksys. So there were concerns from neighbors today that there are individuals marking off areas within a neighborhood for right of way for CODA. Is there a potential that they're gonna run buses through a neighborhood while working on Broad Street?
Not that I've heard of, so Coda was working it up?
The city was marking it off for CODA, and the city workers said it was due to link us, it's explain link us to the neighbors. So
If you can give me specifics on where I can try to follow up with that, then I haven't personally heard anything about that, but.
yeah, it was in Westgate on Westmore, I believe. I'd have to look and see, something like Crescent, something like that. Right in there, right off of Broad Street. It would make sense. You could totally, in theory, do it, but you shouldn't.
So I will look into that. So the other thing that's happening with Linkus is, they're calling them mobility hubs. So it's basically stations that go with our transit stations that would have things like bikes and scooters. So just space to store them so they're not in the way. So it could be something like that, but I will just look into it before I give you a real answer.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Oh, another question.
I apologize if this is outside of this, but are there going to be any increases to cybersecurity at CODA?
Oh, we definitely, we definitely need that. So we've been working, as you may be aware, we had a pretty, bad hacking incident in December. And they've been increasing security a lot, so I'm hopefully, I mean, that is not my area, but I do believe they're adding a lot of security.
Okay, but not part of this.
Not specifically part of this, yet.
Gotcha.
Well, I just had a question about transit hubs. Like, what's the kind of like guidelines on like where you put them and why you put them where?
So do you mean like a transit center, like Easton Transit Center, or, I think, it's most common where there's a lot of lines meeting, or if there's a major destination, we like to have them there. I think transit centers is something we'd like to consider, more deeply in the future. So for example, the west side, there's a lot of lines that end in the far west side. So we may consider something like that for the west side. And actually, I do believe that that's being considered as part of the West Park BRT, is having some kind of transit center out there.
Because I was just thinking about that, especially with the Westland Mall getting demolished, the Hollywood Casino project that's getting a new hotel. I was just mapping my own route from here to Easton, and it would take an hour for more or less a 15-minute drive. And I was just more or less wondering, it's like, our neighborhood's only going to grow from the 70,000 people that we do have. So if we had some type of transit center hub that could get us to points throughout the city, because I mean, I work on the other side of the city, but it's not the easiest to use CODA to get to the other side of the city.
Yeah, I think the west side, and there's a few other areas that have similar potential need. So that's.
I'll take the final question then. Oh, did you have a question? I didn't know, let it go, please.
Number of, I guess months ago, about a year ago, there was a CODA survey related to public feedback or an initiative. It made it sound like it was just coming down the pike and we wanted feedback on cashless service. That has seemed to maybe have fizzled out, hopefully. I know a number of us in the room filled that out. I know there have been numerous studies saying it's, you know, discriminatory and bad for cybersecurity and bad for privacy. And I don't know, just a general update on that.
So right now, the folks at CODA who are leading that have kind of eliminated the timeline for that. So right now, they don't have any specific timeline. They still have that goal. But I would say, I can't necessarily speak for them, but I'm hoping if they do pursue that, they'll set very clear milestones about what types of goals have to happen for them. So, but for now, there's no timeline anymore.
Andrew, thank you for being here tonight. If you were wanting to get more information to us at a future meeting, what would be the month, the quarter? When would we want to invite you back for any updates, any substantial kind of?
Or short range transit plan?
Yeah.
I suppose it would just be maybe August would be a good date. But I may need to follow up with you on that, because I think we're gonna be presenting the final version of the plan to our board in July, but I want to check that.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So moving on to reports of officers on the agenda, I'll start the Zoning Columbus Advisory Committee meeting. I've been participating in that since it started. Our next meeting is tomorrow in the afternoon, 4:30. Public's welcome to come. It's downtown. I think it's 140, the address, 141 North Front Street. It's in the parking garage of the city. I can get the exact address, but this may be new business, but there was a demolition permit that we were asked to take a look at over the last month. This is if somebody applies to demolish something or to demo a structure, or there's an application to the city, there's a fee that has to be paid, and there's an opportunity for 60 days for public input about the demolition. And so we, as the commission, are asked to kind of weigh in on, do people that live in the surrounding community have anything to say about the demolition? And so we've gotten a couple of permit applications that we've been kind of under the gun to get feedback back very quickly. Can you turn that around pretty quickly? Our process has been that we bring those permits when we get them, which has been a little haphazard, right? I get an email saying this permit's coming up. So we have been normally we would say, well, we'll bring the demolition permit to our zoning committee meeting, and the committee will take a look at it and then give a recommendation to support the demolition or to say we would not support it based on public input. But again, the important part is public input, right? So how do we get those demolition applications in front of our neighbors and to be able to get it? So, for example, there's permits that come to say there's a vacant building that might be demolished, or a garage behind a property. Or what recently came up this month was the address is on Wilson Road. The address is specifically, there's a gas station that used to be there on Wilson Road, and there was a car wash behind it. Let me pull up the address really quick. I apologize. I had it pulled up. 845 Wilson Road. There's a gas station that used to be there. It's proposed to be a Barron's bus stop. So that'll be an opportunity for overflows of ridership for the on Barron's bus. And so, is it okay to, do we have anything to say about the request to demolish that car wash that's behind there, right? And so we were asked to turn that around relatively quickly. So I emailed all of the commissioners and said, if anybody has any input about this, to please let me know by a certain date, and then we'll turn around whether or not we have any objections to let the permit holder or the city know about that. And so didn't hear any, so we said, yeah, we're okay with demolishing we would say that Hilltop, as the greater Hilltop, representing our neighbors, that we don't have any opposition to that. So I wanted to kind of share that. I either need to be able to say, we're going to follow a process that is, we're going to bring this to committee, put this on our website, put it on our Facebook page. We need to come up with a method to get input about these. They don't come very often necessarily, but then there's a flood of them, right? And so I'm throwing a question on the table in my report. I want to bring this to zoning committee so that they can have a conversation about, there are other commissions that do what we did this last month. They get the permit application, they email other commissioners, they try to publish it so that everybody can see it through social media or whatever, but then it doesn't go to committee. It doesn't specifically have a process to go to a committee for a vote, right? But it's, do we have anything to add in favor or to say I'm not in favor of this demolition permit? So commissions do it differently. We've already been asked twice to kind of fast forward something. And it's been for reasons, right? These demo permits, I guess, are often the last things that kind of get processed or whatever to be able to get a project to move forward. So I'll take a breath. I want to refer officially that to zoning committee, just to say what's our process going to be. I want us to be clear, but I also want the process to be pretty transparent to say if anybody has any input about the demolition, that we have an opportunity to get that feedback. That's it for my report.
I don't have anything.
Okay, is our vice chair? No, nothing for this evening. Secretary? No, thank you. Treasurer?
So just a breakdown of expenses and what we submitted to the city at the end of last month, showing how everything, like the buckets that everything is pulled into. So yeah, we were able to make it just under the 2,500 mark, but then the city takes back like the excess and then gives us new money over the next month or two. We have some paperwork to do this month and submit it. But outside of that, nothing terribly new to report.
That's great. Thank you. So Josh is required to sign our memorandum of understanding. I am too as the chair, so that has to be submitted by June 30th. Our finance committee, there's a page in the memorandum of understanding. It says you're going to receive $2,500 for the next program year. The finance committee had already met earlier this year to talk about how that money was going to be potentially budgeted in the MOU. So we're going to transfer that into the memorandum of understanding, and Josh and I will make sure that's signed and submitted by the end of the week. Great. Okay, so we're under reports of committees. Our zoning committee chairperson, Rachel Winnie. Yeah, you can. That's awesome.
So we did have a meeting last month, and we heard one application, which is BZA 23-034. That's 2240 Sullivan, corner of Clarendon and Sullivan, it's the N&N Market. So we did vote in favor of that application, for a few variances, including basically being able to maneuver in this right-hand space of the photo in the lot, screening for the dumpster, and then I think setback in the rear. The important part here is they were not able to attend tonight, so we'll see if they can attend next meeting. But we asked the applicant representative whether they have the ability to paint these bowlers that look like cigarettes, because we don't like them. And so they're gonna find out if they have the authority to paint those, because they might be AEP, they're around a pole, they're an electric pole, so it might be an AEP thing, you've got to check on that. But we're gonna ask them to just paint them bright yellow instead of the cigarettes. And then we're also most likely gonna have them plant one tree in the street lawn, in exchange for the other variances, so. Just give you a little update on that, even though they're not here tonight, hopefully they'll be here at the next meeting, and we can throw that one. I also have an update. We've been discussing in the zoning meetings, the Taz Market, even though they don't have an application before us. In 2020, they submitted a request for variance for a drive-through on the side of the building, as they're remodeling it. And this is 2419 Sullivan. I filed a 311 report because I didn't really get a response from the city directly through email. So filed 311. They did reply to me, and I'll just read you the response that I got. I wanted to reach out to you and let you know that we inspected the property and I spoke with the building owner. The owner directed me to where I could find his permit, and he gave me the permit numbers here. I actually was not able to view the updated permit, which includes the plan for the drive-through. I don't know if that's just not online, but it's not on there. The owner did apply for a BZA variance in 2020, but the application was withdrawn. The chief building official determined that a variance was not required for the drive-through fronting South Wayne Avenue. We found no violations on the property and the case has been closed. So I looked at the technicalities of basically the plan, which forbids drive-throughs along some of our major corridors. They only apply to frontage on those corridors. So they cannot put a drive-through on the Sullivan side of the building, but they can put a drive-through on the Wayne side of the building. So essentially that's where we stand with the Taz Market is they're gonna have a drive-through at the corner of Sullivan and Wayne, even though the city has told us many times they want to discourage drive-throughs along our corridors. So I kind of chose to not pick this one as a battle because I feel like I don't have the time for it, but if anyone else wants to take that up, you could be my guest. I don't have any other applications pending at this time for next month, so we may just have a discussion on the demolition request process, and then, maybe I can devote some more time to liquor permit review discussion. But yeah, that meeting will be July 18th at 6 p.m. here at the library if we do have a meeting.
Perfect. Thank you for your report. On our community relations committee, we have co-chairs, Kayla Davis and Josh Maddox. Do you guys have a report this evening?
I don't know why I keep doing that, it's annoying. Go. So we will be, we'll be attending the Bean Dinner. We'll need volunteers for Bean Dinner Table. And then on our next meeting on the 27th of this month, we'll discuss the other events that we're gonna hopefully go attend. Things like Summer Jam, National Night Out. We went to the South Central Hilltop last year, Block Watch, if we want to do that again this year, or if there's another one we'd like to go to. Rise Up, C-Bus will be at Wedgewood in September. So I'd like to see us attend something like that. And we need to get a little bit further outside of that as well. I know the Shalom Zone was gonna have something, but that's on hold for right now. But a lot of these events are being held at Westgate Park. So if we could expand, be awesome, but they're just, that's where they are, so that's. Yeah. But yeah, we will need some volunteers for the Bean Dinner, so I'll send out an email this evening. If you guys can help out, that's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm thinking if we can do 2-hour shifts, that'd be 3 2-hour shifts. So you'd have 2 people there potentially. I won't be in town, so unfortunately I won't be able to assist on that one, but yeah, so questions, comments, concerns, short stories, quips.
What's the date of the Bean Dinner?
The 24th.
June?
Correct. Yep.
I have been in touch with Danny with the Arts Collective in relation to us partnering with the League of Women Voters to be at Summer Jam West. He would like us to let him know if he would like a booth there ideally in the next week or two. So if there can be kind of an unofficial letting him know for certain whether we want to be there. I don't think the application's officially out yet, but like a note.
Great, thank you.
I have something. Oh, BC, I'm not putting you on the spot, but you can help us identify other things that's happening in the Hilltop events other than what at Westgate, right? Like there's other things. You can help us with that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Be on to our government and legislation committee, our chairperson, Leah Brennan.
Yes, we met on May 23rd was our May meeting. We have officially started discussing the 2023 GHAC election. So that timeline is set. Petitions will be available officially by June 25th. They'll probably be on the website quite a bit sooner than that. Those are going to be due our standard bylaw timeline. So 60 days later. It will be due on August the 28th to me. That information is on the petition itself. We will verify those in that following week, and elections will be announced whether or not we need them by September the 5th. If we do hold elections, they will be on the first Saturday of October from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Additional details to come. In the meantime, before petitions are released or, in that signature gathering time, if anyone has questions, anyone's interested in running, would like to discuss that, please do let me know, or anyone on the commission. We do have a number of seats that are up at the end of this year. So if you are up for re-election, you do need to go through this process. I, as of right now, do not plan to have a meeting this month. I will be posting on Facebook though, just put that announcement of petitions up on the website.
Thank you. Our Human Services and Education Committee chairperson is Joe Argero.
Thank you. There was no meeting in May, as I was out of town. But I do want to let the commission know that we got in right under the budget deadline. And the committee and now the commission now has access to the GIS and data software known as Esri, ESRI. And so we're going to use that to help inform many aspects actually of community health. Will be the focus of that. So that'll get some data to us and to the group and be one. I think it was only $100, so it's still a huge spend all of our budget. But so that's a new resource we have. And then secondly, I was even without a committee meeting last week, the commissioner training last month, 2 different commissioner trainings The first on population growth back on Saturday the 13th. Extremely interesting, extremely interesting. And then the following week, the city's history of housing and zoning. Very interesting, highly recommended. Walked us through the slides and a history of Columbus, how and why it was zoned and has spread in certain ways. And then, challenges and opportunities moving into the future. And so once those slides come in, to make them available to the commissioners and any other community members, I think that'd be good too. The next meeting for us will be the 14th, June 14th, next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. And we'll be continuing on some of our past work and starting to look at data.
Thank you. Next up is our committee, is Liquor Permit Review Committee, or Chairperson's Andrew Stricker.
Thank you. I do plan to have a meeting this month, and the date of that meeting will be the 20th. If you'd like to move over your country or something, I will not be back again. I do want to go over with the members of that committee a presentation that I'll have for our next full commission meeting. And for our next meeting, I'd like to budget some time for some things that I'll have for to vote on.
What time, and where?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 6 o'clock here.
6
o'clock.
6 o'clock at the library.
Thank you, Andrew. Our Planning Economic Development Committee.
May I have your attention, please? Amanda Radcliffe, please come to the front desk. Amanda Radcliffe, please come to the front desk. Thank you.
Your co-chairs for the committee, Simon Dallas and Victoria Klein.
Yeah, so this month we had the Franklin County Auditor's Office attend our meeting to talk about the 2023 property reappraisal. Some important dates are in July and August, mailers will be going out to everybody in Franklin County about the changes. Folks will have from September until December of this year to review and challenge any sort of changes that they feel they disagree with in regards to the reappraisal. We also have handouts at the front table there. Please take them and feel free to share. We'll also make sure to post a link to that information on our website as well. And our next meeting is going to be June 22nd. 5:30 here.
5:30 in the library. Okay, so on to our Public Safety Committee. We have co-chairs, Hannah Play and Malik Moore.
So we did meet last month, but we didn't have a good attendance. Anyway, so we're meeting next month on the 22nd at 6:30 to 7:30 here. And I think some of the topics that we want to discuss is the Hilltop resident kit that we want to pass out. We need to complete that. And then the other thing is the fireman talking about the streets. So we'll probably do some research on that.
Great. Get the time and location.
Assuming June 22nd, 6:30 here.
Perfect. Thank you. So under our final committee, Recreation and Parks, our chairperson, James White.
Hello, everyone. Last month we did meet at Rhodes and Wrexham. Both of those reports are up online on our website now. Just a brief update, both Wrexham's report grade hasn't changed from last year, from 4 to 4. There's still no community. I was typing in another email for something else. I was a little distracted, but again, Wrexham doesn't have any actual amenities within the park. That's why its grade is still the same at 4. Rhodes has gone from a fair to a 4, so that's a downgrade just to do due to some of the site conditions. We're hoping that those can be remedied pretty quickly, as they're all cosmetics when it comes to just giant potholes, people driving through the grass and things like that. Also up on the website, I believe, is our previous month's report for ponds. We are going to be this month, we're going to be at Big Run. That's next Saturday at 11 a.m. Please meet us over by the sports complex parking lot, so we don't take up any of the available space in front of the playground, or any of the spots closer to the actual soapbox derby area. Again, because the parking is a little bit limited. Again, we'll be at Big Run next Saturday at 11 a.m.
Great, thank you, Jim. So if this is the first time you've attended one of our meetings or you're watching online, all the committees we just talked about, you can see a calendar. If you just Google Greater Hilltop Area Commission, our website has a calendar on it that Josh is, I know right now, uploading and updating all of the dates for the month of June. So if you're like, oh, I can't remember when the meeting is held. If you go to our website, just Google Greater Hilltop Area Commission and all the area commissions across all 21 of them, you can find there at one page. You click on the Greater Hilltop, and then you scroll down and you can see our calendar. Anybody that's watching is welcome to any of our committee meetings. These are open to anybody that would like to come and would love for your input, your energy, your attendance, whatever you'd like to do. There's no commitment. You can come to one committee meeting, don't come back for a year. You can come to everyone we have. So all are welcome. Just want to put that shameless plug out there. We, as you can see, there's a lot of activity that happens among the folks that sit around this table, and we have a nice schedule of meetings now for the month of June. So all are welcome. Okay, so moving on to unfinished business, and I am on time. There's two just quick things under unfinished business. One is the date for our July meeting. If we go to the first Tuesday in July, it is July 4th. So Olavisi called and said, Dan, what are you guys going to do about the 4th? And I said, I hadn't even thought about that. So you know, we had talked about there's two options, I think. One is to move it to the following Tuesday. Olavisi said she's going to have a hard time with that because Franklinton's area commission meeting is that following Tuesday, and then we could move it to the following day, July 5th. Is another option. I've already kind of talked a little bit about the meeting structure. So I think we just need to put it up for a vote. I mean, I would like to say that I would like to propose that we move to the following Tuesday, the 11th, at the same time here at the library. Is the motion I'd like to put forward. So let's discuss any.
This was part of our agenda for the government legislation committee meeting in May. So we have a formal recommendation for the meetings for the rest of the year, including July. We are formally recommending that July be moved to the 11th.
Okay, so sorry, because that's the next thing under unfinished business is what are our meeting schedules going to be based on the governmental legislation committee. So your proposed change would be moved to the 11th.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions about that? Any other recommendations? Yeah.
What are we moving any of the other days? Or is that done?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and talk about the rest of the.
Sure. So we are formally recommending the following changes for the rest of the year. So obviously regular this month in June, July will be moved to July 11th to accommodate for the holiday. We recommend no formal full commission meeting in August unless there's immediate pressing business that comes up, and that can be at the chair's discretion. Regular meetings in both September and October. November would be moved to November the 14th. That's one following Tuesday because of the election, and then a regular meeting in December.
Say the 14th?
In November, yeah. Additionally, so we are recommending no meeting in August. If something does come up, we would be recommending that meeting be moved a week because there is a special election on that first Tuesday in August. So other things to keep in mind.
So with the cadence in November, then when would the zoning committee meeting, would it be the 21st? If we follow that regular schedule, I'd have to look ahead.
in November.
Yeah.
Zoning could still take place at its regularly scheduled third Tuesday, so the 21st.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate your working committee to make those recommendations. There are a number of commissions that take the month of August off. So that, you know, is, I don't know how many of them don't, but we've always, we've been meeting in August the last couple of years, so. Any discussion, any comments about what the latest proposing? Okay, then I'd like to go ahead and put a motion forward that we move July meeting to the 11th, take off the month of August, meet as regularly scheduled in September, October, and December, and move the November meeting to the 14th.
I'll second.
The second. Right. Do a voice vote. Everybody in favor of what the motion? Anybody that's opposed to what was presented as a motion? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, that'll be our meeting schedule for the remainder of the year. Thank you. Obviously, if there's some way we could bring you in on a Zoom or something, I mean, we can certainly work on that if you'd like to zoom in from Franklinton's parking lot or something. But we're here to accommodate, so.
Yeah, I was about to say, I have to talk to David about it. Just because, like, you know, there has to be like a neighborhood representative, you know, just to provide support
Oh,
for the meetings, so, you know.
I never knew that.
Whose rule is that?
I'd say it's our department policy, and it's mostly for support, you know, just to make sure that the meetings are run and that, you know, you guys are following policy and procedure in terms of how you vote. So, like I said, I'll talk to him because I want to respect you guys' decision. If there's another person that can stand in for me, all good. But yeah, want to clarify.
So David, we got this. Okay, okay. I didn't know that, really, honestly. Didn't know. Okay. All right, so I've already talked about the memorandum of understanding that it's the finance committee. I just wanted to say in terms of unfinished business that we're going to go ahead and take what we have proposed for the budget, include that in the MOU, and we will have that submitted by the end of Josh has already got that printed, ready to sign. He just forgot it. So we'll connect with it later today or something like that. So there's really nothing else there under unfinished business. I have no new business on the agenda. So unless there's any opposition, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn our meeting for this evening.
Second.
Thank you for being here.